Now that you have a general idea of the concept of barrier synchronization, we'll take a look at the different types of barrier synchronizers supported by Java. We'll also talk about how these barrier synchronizers allow threads to wait for operations performed in other threads to complete, using different models. Java supports three types of barrier synchronizers. One type is called the CountDownLatch, and it's really the most simple form. A CountDownLatch allows one or more threads to wait on the completion of operations in other threads. CountDownLatches can be used to support both entry and exit barriers, but not cyclic barriers. Java also supports something called the Cyclic Barrier, which allows a set of threads to all wait for each other to reach a common barrier point. This approach can be used to support entry, exit, and of course, cyclic barriers. And the third and final type of barrier synchronizer in Java is called a phaser, which is a more flexible, reusable, and dynamic barrier synchronizer that subsumes the functionality of both Cyclic Barrier and CountDownLatch at some additional complexity. It also supports entry, exit, and cyclic barriers. Java's barrier synchronizers can be categorized in several ways. One way is in terms of the number of iterations they perform. For example, a CountDownLatch is always a one-shot iteration, whereas a phaser could be one-shot or could be cyclic. Likewise, Cyclic Barrier supports cyclic iterations, and it's also possible, as we'll see, to program a phaser to support cyclic operations and iterations as well. Another consideration is whether or not you have a fixed number of parties or a variable number of parties. CountDownLatches and cyclic barriers can really be used effectively only with a fixed number of parties. In contrast, one of the virtues of the phaser is it can be used with a variable number of parties. It can change dynamically at runtime. These categories, of course, are not mutually exclusive. As you can see, phaser appears multiple times in this taxonomy. So that's the end of our overview of Java barrier synchronizers. We will now go and cover each of those three types of synchronizers in more detail.